Wait, no. Hang on a second.
Okay. Damn it, Josh.
You don't have any McDonald's in your perfect Saturday anymore?
Welcome to Boba Talk episode 4. In this episode, we're chatting with Josh Goldberg, who is an open source maintainer, conference speaker, book author, Twitch streamer, maker of fizzy cocktails, and a good friend of the pod. We're going to be talking to him today about his experience working at Microsoft, building full-screen Mario, his take on TypeScript versus JavaScript, plus his lengthy experience speaking at tech conferences. We hope you enjoy this episode. Let's dig in. Whoopee! Josh, what boba tea flavor are you drinking today?
Oh boy, I have a homemade pumpkin cheesecake boba. I realize I don't have any more pumpkin spice syrup from Marshall Home Goods, just pumpkin cheesecake. It's actually pretty good. I don't boil my tapioca pearls in as much sugar as most of the shops do. I actually use almost none. So it's not as sweet and yummy as store-bought boba, but I feel less gross afterwards. So pros and cons.
So for all the listeners, Josh is actually a cocktail maker. This is your first time making boba, Josh?
No. I used to do it at parties. I was a real hit.
Oh, really?
Exclusively and only for that. Yeah, you can just make boba at home. Same with lattes. You just get a little milk frother. For this, you can get the tapioca pearls at like an H Mart or just like online. Boil it in water, steep it in water with honey, add a lot of sugar. Boom.
Well, so actually, I was inspired by you, Josh, to make my own bubble tea today. We went to Japan Village in Industry City in Brooklyn on Saturday they have a grocery store there, and we got some homemade boba, and mine turned out gross, so I'm actually not going to show it.
No, show it, Lil.
Oh, show it.
I know. Yeah, that's about as much as I'll show.
I see a vague sludge. Is that all right?
Basically. Yeah, no. Anyway, moving on from my failed attempt making boba at home. On to you, Sonny.
Cool. I got lychee green from Lazy Sundays, which is very close by to our office in Dumbo, Brooklyn. So give them a shout out. I think they're pretty new, but they got a lot of really sort of fancy bobas in there.
It's a pretty logo.
All right, Josh.
Kawaii.
So let's kick this off. So us three met in our previous jobs, where Josh was the staff software engineer. I was a curriculum manager. Lil was the head of community. And we overlapped for around 2+ years, I would say. Josh, let's kick it off. So I remember doing our one-on-ones when you first started working with us. You always, doing one-on-ones, ask people, what's your perfect Saturday? Okay, and I thought that was very memorable. Why did you ask people that? And also, what is your perfect Saturday?
Yeah, love the question. I found that when I was doing one-on-ones with people, especially when joining a new team or company, it was a really useful way to get to know people. Obviously, like that's what it's for. But that's super useful professionally. Like if you have rapport with someone, if you two have already spoken socially, it's a lot easier to understand each other's context when you're going to like async communications on pull requests and Slack and whatnot. And I found that asking perfect Saturday is kind of an ideal question because it can get real deep and personal if people wanted to. You can explain why some activity speaks to your childhood, bring up traumas or whatever. Or if you don't want to go through all that, you can just say you like going to the beach or something and it can stay service level. So that's why I have a giant like Notion database in my personal Notion
Really?
That has the perfect Saturdays of everyone I've ever asked that question.
Oh, no. And it's still there?
Oh, yeah. I also keep notes on like when we last talked and like major follow-up points to bring up, which is, creepy salesperson strategies that have worked really well for me. So that's a thing.
I've been hearing about this a lot. Personal CM. I think that's what people call it, right?
Yeah.
Personal. Interesting. Okay. So what is your perfect Saturday, Josh?
It changes over the years, over the months.
What is your perfect Saturday now?
Right now. Probably get a good night's sleep. That's the first, 6 or 7 hours. Wake up at like around 7, nice and early. Go for like a morning run, like a couple miles, enough to get exhausted, but not so much that I drop. Have like a nice small breakfast, a little mango juice, some eggs I make myself. Go on like a nice river trail, biking up and down the river. Between the up and the down the river, I'd get boozy brunch with some friends who were probably there on the bikes also. Some kind of fancy schmancy thing with cocktails and whatever. go back home, take a shower, probably code the rest of the day in isolation with delivery Thai food and delivery Chinese food. The like crappy Americanized versions, not the authentic stuff. I'm not a human at this point. I'm just kind of a slime on the couch. Yeah, and then I'd pass out exhausted. My spouse, Mariah, would be there probably to help make sure I don't collapse onto the floor and just get a good night's sleep the next night, too. That's me. What about you?
Wait, hold on. Dude, your Saturday has not changed at all since, I think it's like 4 years ago when I asked you for that. I think you said it exactly the same. Maybe not the mango juice bit, but everything else. Thai food, Chinese food. I think it was bike ride. That's hilarious.
I guess I'm a very predictable person. That's kind of nice.
Where'd you get that question from? Was there like...
Honestly, I had no idea. I've been using it since I lived in Seattle, which was like years ago. It might be like a dating show thing. Like I heard a few dating shows mention it and like, oh, that's actually not a terrible question, but I don't know. It's entirely possible a mentor of mine introduced me to it and I should be crediting them and I'm not. And if that's the case, I'm sorry. Someone yell at me.
I don't know how you booze at brunch and then go home and code for hours until the end of the night. That's very superhuman of you.
The key is to not drink a lot of alcohol. I actually don't like being drunk. And I like cocktails for the fanciness aspect, not the booze aspect. So honestly, it could just be mocktails or just like one at most. And then you sweat it out biking. Good point.
Sounds like a solid Saturday.
Yeah.
You do have this.
Fun fact, Sunny and I, our first one-on-one was in Boba. Like it was not in, but we got boba tea from Boba guys inside the Canal Street Market in Manhattan, then walked around. And I owed Sunny boba for the longest time. And it happened, I believe, twice that we went somewhere with the express intent of me getting Sunny boba. And then somehow he finagled it so that he would pay for it. I think one of them I forgot my wallet or something and he refused to go back. It was very upsetting, very infuriating. I don't think I owe you boba anymore, but I'm not sure.
I don't think you owe me boba, Josh.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Wait, please tell me this is not in your personal CRM or whatever.
It includes McDonald's, Dota, entering a wormhole of reading articles and books, and learning something. I thought it was a very enriching, perfect Saturday.
Okay.
Much like Lil's. Not quite as enriching as Lil's. No yoga, but still good.
That was very 2018, Sunny, I think. Right? I have not played a Dota game in a long time. I think Jay knows. Cool. Josh, so we usually ask people about their origin story, how they got into coding. We know that you went to RPI, a school in upstate New York, which was the nation's oldest tech research university. Was there anything significant there? Why did you choose that school? How did you get into coding in general?
Sure. So this isn't an answer to the question, but fun context. My dad was a professor at RPI while I was growing up for many years. He was actually in the computer science department, but he was a mathematician. That just so happened that his specialty, number theory, graph theory, that whole area largely fell within computer science, software development areas. And because he was a computer scientist, I originally did not want to be because I was a little turd growing up and was constantly rebelling in the smallest and dumbest of ways, as one does. But in high school, I really liked graphic design. I liked Photoshop. I liked putting people's faces on animals. It's still something I do once in a while. But I also really liked coding when I discovered it. We had like Computer Science 1, Computer Science 2, AP Comp Sci in order. AP was like the standardized class in New York and other states, I think. And I kind of just fell into it. Like I tried it out. I was actually not terrible at it. It felt really satisfying. It got me the same kind of happiness, satisfaction as playing with Legos growing up. Like I have these building blocks and I can shove them together into something cool. So I went to RPI for computer science because it was the best school I got into, the best school I applied to. I was very lucky on that one. And it was also 10 minutes away from where I grew up, which meant it would be a lot easier to go there. It wasn't so close that I could live at home, but it was close enough that it would be easy to do laundry at my parents' house. That was a big part of the math.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's how I went to RPI.
Wait, what is RPI?
It's Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. RENSSELAER, I think. It's a running joke that no one can spell it. Oh, I think I got it right. Yeah. I actually didn't know it was the nation's oldest. I already forget the term you used. I just knew it as a really pretty campus with a really strong computer science department.
Yeah.
Also, it has a student-run union, like a wholly and truly student-run union, which is relatively rare. Thought that was kind of cool. I actually met my now spouse there, freshman year. So that was a strong positive. You've met her, Mariah. She says hi.
Hey, Mariah.
Hi, Mariah. Shout out to Mariah.
She can't hear you, but she does not like having her face and name on the internet.
Oh, we'll
which
cut
is
that
the
out then.
exact opposite of me. No, it's okay. It's okay. This annoys her in a way that makes me happy.
By the way, Josh, I met so many of your buddies at your going away party from RPI. I don't know if it's your friend group or just like that's how RPI is, but it is very strong in its own vibe in terms of like everybody there were like a physicist or like a theoretical computer scientist or like works at Bloomberg or, right, or hackers almost.
Oh, no.
At least everybody I talked to.
That might just be my friends, which is a bunch of people who act very smart, regardless of whether they are. That's kind of my vibe.
Gotcha. Cool.
It is like a kind of a hard school. Like I remember working a lot. It's not Ivy League, but it likes to compete with the Ivy Leaguers. So it pushes the students kind of hard. And it kind of, I think, suffers from what a lot of modern American universities do in that professors oftentimes aren't super motivated. Just like fiscally, they're not motivated to teach well. Some of them are personally, like we had a lot of really good ones who did well for the sake of it. But like my dad was an example of he was there for the research and then teaching students was just a part of the job you had to do. So, your mileage may vary, but once in a while we get a class where just they wouldn't really teach you the thing and you'd have to go learn it on your own. And that was always rough.
By the way, I actually had a very similar situation. My dad was a professor too in material science rather than computer science. So it's actually almost like parallel what you just said, just like, with the stuff that he tells me.
Except you didn't go into material science.
I did not go into material, just like you. I was like, hell no, I'm going to stay away from that. Cool. Josh, so a lot of people probably ask you this. We've talked about this, but I just want to talk about this on the pod. Full screen Mario. According to the Wikipedia page, it was a 2013 browser unofficial remake of the classic Super Mario Bros. Recreated using HTML and JavaScript. It included all original 32 levels, a random map generator, a level editor, and a bunch of custom mods that I found on YouTube, like some like tripping acid one, a super fireball one I saw people play. At its peak, I think it had 300,000 visits per day and later 2.7 million users, which is also crazy. How did you build this thing? When did you build this thing? Do you just want to tell the world about it a little bit?
Sure. This is going to be a kind of meandering story because it brings me joy to play with you in this way, to annoy you. I really liked Halo growing up. For the non-visual listeners of this podcast, I have a bunch of Halo crap behind me. Also, I liked the game trilogy Marathon, which was a sci-fi first-person shooter that old Bungie made a little while before Halo. And especially around the time of Marathon, but also during Halo, Bungie had this weird obsession with the number 7. So actually, if you go to the Wikipedia page for Full Screen Mario and go to the references, number 7 reference is one that I specially crafted to be a Rickroll. I also like Rickrolling. Yeah, so the reason why I did Full Screen Mario, which was in college, I started working on it sophomore year, so second year, was a few reasons. One, I was convinced I was not as good as my classmates at programming and that I would never get a job, and I had to do something to stand out and also just to practice because, there's the feeling that a lot of us go through where you're sitting in class and there's this whole group of people near you loudly talking about how they finished the weekly homework assignment in like 2 hours, and you're stuck there thinking, well, it takes me all 7 days until midnight. That's what I was going through. Aww. Classic imposter syndrome. But also I really liked retro games and nostalgia. And I was a sad, lonely person growing up. And like Super Mario Brothers was one of the first games, even pre-Halo, that really spoke to me. So it was this beautiful combination of this nostalgic sadness and also a need to show off. So instead of using like a standard game engine, which they existed at the time and were totally fine, I thought I'll just do it myself. I'll learn all the things. The result is I did learn a lot of the things. The game, from an objective code standpoint, sucked. It was like the worst code I ever wrote. It was buggy. It was slow. But it worked. And it took me a year spare time till it went viral and it got taken down. But I was really proud of that, Like that was me. I did that thing.
Wait, why did it get taken down?
Nintendo is not friendly to fan remakes and competitors. And it was 2.68 million unique visitors at time of takedown. I'm very proud of that number.
Over what period of time?
It went viral in beginning-ish of October and then got taken down, I want to say like a month later, like November 1st. Wow. So it was like, a few dozen people at most a week or month for 11 months or 12 months and then just a whole bunch. It was on Reddit and like this website, Boing Boing. It's actually a fascinating study of what could no longer be done. Because one of the big ways the game drew people in was immediately starting playing and immediately starting playing the music, the da-da-da-da-da-da, which is an extreme nostalgia boost, like a little shot of that for anyone who played the games. But web browsers will no longer allow websites to play audio without user interaction first. For good reason. That's incredibly annoying and obnoxious. Furthermore, Reddit is stricter now about sharing content that is arguably a blatant copyright or trademark ripoff. So I neither could have created the game as it was, nor shared it on Reddit the way I did today. But you know what? It all worked out in the end for me, because now I have jobs.
But hold on. How did Nintendo reach you? Was it by email or like snail mail?
Neither. Nintendo never talked to me. I tried talking with them, tried sending an email or two, and they never responded. And the only communication that I saw come out of them that was relevant to me was them telling my registrar, DreamHost, the company that hosts the site, hey, this is going to be taken down until they get that crap off of there. And then a similar DMCA notice to GitHub. So that was a little unpleasant.
Can somebody still find this online, like some bootleg version or some cloned copy?
Oh yeah, it's real easy to find.
They get? Okay. I got it.
I'm not going to say exactly which sites because I've learned the hard way to not advertise them too much for fear of Nintendo's wrath. But yeah, if you just Google full screen Mario, there are like 50 links. You can find it a bit.
I found so many millions of views of YouTube, people commentating on it. So it's still doing pretty well, I think. How long did it take you for something like this? Because it's 32 levels. I mean, first, did you build out one level and then share with your friends? Or how did that work? How did it get to just suddenly 32 levels plus all these different mods?
I'm a little bit obsessive and a little bit of a completionist. I remember I'd started it beginning of sophomore year, second year in psychology class because I was bored and my best friend Brandon was playing this game that I can never remember the name of. And I was like, oh, I want to be doing games. But also I'm paranoid about my place in the workforce. And I remember thinking, okay, if I don't get the first level to work by Thanksgiving, this was back in 2012, then this project was dumb and I've gotten all the value I can out of it. And I got it to work by Thanksgiving, just the first level. And not even that fancy, just poorly done, a lot of hard-coded stuff. And then over the course of the next year, I would, implement the next level, or rather try to realize all the stuff the engine didn't support. Bouncing on the trampolines was a huge pain in the butt to add to physics. Or if you're big as Mario, you have the mushroom, you run forward and then you press down to do the crouch equivalent. You still slide a little bit. And then what happens if you're sliding and you're underneath a block and you stop? Or don't even fully stop and then uncrouch, what happens to the block. So there are all these little edge cases that kept getting brought up. But I forget when I just went through and implemented all the levels. But it was at one point where I was screw it, I just need to see all the stuff I'm missing. I went through, implemented them all, and then as that went on, just kept writing all these bugs and missing features that I later implemented.
Dang. This was 2013, so I mean, is Stack Overflow even around? Yeah, it probably was, but there's probably not much information online, right? This is when I was still in college too.
You're dating us. We sound older than we really are. The college experience in 2012, 2013 was not that different, I don't think, from college today.
Are you serious? Dude, people are using ChatGPT now.
Overflow. People are using Stack Overflow to copy and paste back then. Chat AI, it's a better Stack Overflow, but it's not like it's writing your entire assignment for you. You still have to prompt it, just a little easier. Right. I look forward to all your listeners telling me, no, Josh, you're wrong. AI has completely done all of my assignments for me. I digress. It was hard, but so is any computer science or programming assignment, right? I needed to write the physics. Okay, well, that's broken down into collision detection and the individual behaviors for each enemy. And the nice thing about doing Mario and not Dota or Halo or whatever is that it's a really simple old game. That thing was running on Game Boys and NESs. That there's not that much complicated stuff that goes on in Mario.
I guess the good thing is it is single player and it is 2D. But still, I mean, that's a huge prop, dude. Kudos. I was just reading the Wikipedia. I was that's insane you did all 32. I would probably just do one. I'd be all right, call it.
See, this is part of why I did the project. It sounds so much more impressive than it is. The difference between doing one level and 32 levels is so much smaller than the difference between doing 0 levels and 1 level.
2-1.
At the end of the day, it's mostly the same stuff. A bunch of bricks and blocks and the occasional Goomba or Koopa. And then the half the mods were just, I was playtesting and needed a way to do something quickly. So like, oh, invincible? Yeah, that's really useful. Add it in.
Dang. That's so cool.
Thanks.
What was the most popular mod?
I never got any like user metrics on this. There was no stateful server. It was just a static web page. I didn't have any info. My personal favorite was the gradient skies one. It just had a nice little pretty gradient for the sky instead of the solid color. I thought that was pretty.
Nice. Heck yeah.
I know. Earthquake was a good one too. Every time you land after jumping, everything shakes a little.
That's so cool. Like, I kind of want some stuff like this on Codex. That'd be kind of dope.
Won't play you, Josh. Moving on. So you studied computer science in undergrad. You made a Mario game. What was next after college?
Well, during college, I had a summer internship, 2 summers, also some time between in winter, at a neuroscience lab called Shulk Lab, which was a very good experience. It's a neuroscience lab. They did brain-computer interfaces, and I did their website, which is another example of me finding a way, somewhat accidentally, to do something that is legitimately good, but make it sound so much more impressive than what it was. Like you mentioned neuroscience and people just, wear their brown pants.
Totally.
But that all, especially the combo of Shulk Lab and Full Screen Mario, got me an internship at Microsoft summer 2014, my junior to senior summer. And then after that internship, or towards the end of it, I got a return time offer, a full-time return offer. So I went to Microsoft after college. I started off in their business division and quickly moved to Office where I could work on like actual human-to-human applications.
Cool. That's when earlier you mentioned when you were in Seattle. You were in Seattle for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's a fun move across the country after college, getting out there, broadening your horizons.
Yeah. It was great. I love Seattle. I technically lived in Seattle for 2 years and 1 year in Redmond in between, which is like the Microsoft-y area next to Seattle. But it's a lovely place. And it was awesome living somewhere that's still America and like familiar to me. I wasn't going to a foreign country because at this time I was still kind of scared and skittish for traveling. But it was different enough that I still had to learn how to, do things on my own.
Wait, so again, what departments do you work in? You were in business development and then you said Office?
Yeah. So the way Microsoft, like many other big companies, is set up is they have large divisions. And each of those divisions have sub-organizations and teams and so on. I started off in the business division called Dynamics, which is totally fine. Nothing against Dynamics. It's just not what personally motivates me. I don't particularly care about enterprise resource planning software, which is where I interned. Although the people around me were great and I had a very good mentor. I, within half a year, found a team that was more of my liking, which was where I spent most of my tenure at Microsoft, a team called Sway, which almost no one has heard of. But it was a lovely team, really cool product that's still out there. That was this kind of new age, very rich client web application at a time when most of Microsoft were still making money on the desktop apps and Windows. So that was a lot of fun. And it's where I stayed at Microsoft until I left end of 2018.
How big was the Sway team? Like how many engineers?
You know what? Maybe like a few dozen engineers. Okay. It changed over the time that I was there. When I joined, I want to say there was a Serbia office and a Japan office. By the time I left, the team had actually been kind of rolled into Microsoft Word. But I want to say much of my tenure there, it was just the Serbia office and the Redmond office working on it. Hard to say.
What was the tech stack at your internship, like the neuroscience internship, and what did you use at Microsoft?
The internship first the website was Drupal and PHP. So I was a PHP developer before I was a TypeScript developer. And actually, RPI's curriculum was heavily based at the time, and to a certain extent still is, on C++. So I was all the tech that I never use day to day anymore. Microsoft, the internship summer, I did an internal web app for a support team that was on C#, and I think just JavaScript for the front end. I don't think we used TypeScript. And then Sway was TypeScript, TypeScript and a custom implementation, like a custom viewed state library on the front end, which we eventually started switching over to React and MobX, which is a state library for front end apps. And then the background for everyone, the back end was C#, ASP.NET.
Oh, yeah. So Sway was the first team that used TypeScript. Is that what you're saying?
Sway is one of the early teams.
Right. Because that's like when TypeScript just came out, right?
TypeScript came out around 2012.
Oh.
And I joined Sway beginning of 2016. So TypeScript was a few years old at the time, but it was still at a Microsoft that wasn't super fully converted to the open source way of doing things. Like Satya Nadella was CEO then, instead of Steve Ballmer, the previous CEO, who really did not like open source. But many teams at the company were still in the process of transitioning culture to like, okay, we could use open source without having to ask permission from the legal team. Yeah, there's actually a whole documentary about this, by the way.
On the TypeScript?
Yeah, there's a TypeScript documentary
Really?
that talks about this. Fun fact. Yeah.
Is it interesting? We do watch parties.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Wait, is that Honeypot?
Yeah.
Or no, this is something else. Oh, really?
Oh, I think there are two companies now. Yeah, so TypeScript Origins was by OfferZen.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So looking back now, right now you're open source developer. Looking back at your experience working at Microsoft, like do you recommend it to college graduates to just go to one of these big companies right out of the gate? Or like looking back, what was your experience like?
I definitely recommend it as a good option. We've had talked about this before. I hate being prescriptive. I don't want to tell people you should go do this, all of you, yes. Because there are advantages and disadvantages to everything, including going big tech versus startup versus et cetera. A lot of the advantages of big tech, I feel and felt very strongly. It's a great name for the resume. You know, you get Microsoft on there and your LinkedIn switches to how do I shut the recruiters up, not how do I get them looking at me. They have a lot of support. So like I went there and there were, organizations for all the different interests I had and lots of networking groups and all sorts of really smart and or experienced people that I could talk to for all the technical learnings I wanted. But then also it's a little more politics heavy. It's a big organization. It moves slower. It's less nimble, less agile. So yeah, I think ideally my career recommendation would be, if possible, get experience at both big tech and lil tech, like a Codadex and a Microsoft. I found a lot of use in going to big tech first, but like that's not the only positive good way to do things.
Cool. By the way, there's almost like a 3 divergences we can get into. TypeScript, we can talk about open source, we can talk about more things for beginners. Lil, which way do you want to take it?
I'm actually really curious to get Josh, and a TypeScript I would call expert, take on TypeScript versus JavaScript.
It's funny. When people learn about TypeScript, what happens oftentimes is first they'll get real excited. Oh my God, this is like JavaScript, but way better. And then they'll start recommending it everywhere. And it's only when they get really, really experienced with TypeScript that they start to sometimes slow down and go, oh, wait, this isn't perfect for everyone, which is where I am now. TypeScript is really nice.
Really?
It is what's called a superset of JavaScript, meaning you can write all your JavaScript syntax, but you can also add these little types annotations saying, this is what that parameter is supposed to be, or this is a shape that I'll use later on conceptually. And all those little types annotations get erased from your syntax when your TypeScript code gets transpiled or turned into JavaScript code, which then gets run in like a browser or Node or Dino or something. So TypeScript, the term can refer to the language you're writing in, or it could refer to the tooling that strips out those comments, or it could refer to the tooling that type checks, letting you know, hey, you said this would be a string, but then you gave it a number, you silly goose. Or it could refer to the little squiggly service you get in your editor that tells you, hey, there's a little red squiggly here because insert thing you did wrong. But yeah, all that stuff's really nice and useful. If you're just writing like a quick little .js script, like fewer than 3 files, or it's like just you might not need TypeScript. Honestly, the overhead of having to write those things out and then use the extra tooling can be a little annoying. But my personal rule is anything that has at least 3 people working on it and or is at least 3 files, I like basically always write in TypeScript now. It's just so darn useful.
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all written in TypeScript yet?
Yeah, we refactor everything to TypeScript. Our 2 engineers,
yes.
Asker and Dharma. I think Dharma talked to you about it, right? We did a 3-way call. This is a while ago. Cool. TypeScript versus JavaScript. I think
TypeScript
we covered
good.
that.
JavaScript also okay.
Also okay.
It's fine as a programming language. Like I know it's popular, especially when you're in college and you're getting onboarded to the meme world. The internet's like, oh yeah, X thing sucks. Y thing is the only real devs. That's all stupid. Like everything has advantages and disadvantages. Everything is constantly getting iterated and improved. When I was in college, everyone just shat on PHP constantly. And then now it turns out PHP actually got pretty good. And now the joke about PHP developers is that they all drive Lamborghinis. So the lesson here is that every programming language is good in its own right. And TypeScript is even better that way for the most part.
Cool.
That said, MATLAB sucks. Just kidding.
Well, So for all the new beginners, new Code X learners who are learning, let's say Python or web development, do you have any other advice beyond going to both big tech, a FAANG company plus a startup? Do you have any other advice to somebody who's starting out in 2023 or 2024?
It's nice to listen to people like me who have opinions, but the more experienced someone is, the older their opinion is, and therefore may be less applicable to you. So be wary of tech influencers. Most of us don't really know that much. I'd say the most important thing is learning the fundamentals in general. Maybe for you, different, but for many of us, learning why things work the way they work is really important. You can copy and paste as many, ChatGPT or Stack Overflow prompt answers, whatever's, as you want to solve problems. But if you don't actually understand why, say, a for loop works a certain way, or what the difference between an if and an else is, then you're never going to get beyond the level of just copy and pasting. Like with anything, if you're trying to learn to cook, you should understand how to boil water and make rice. Like don't just follow the instructions, understand that stuff deeply. And then later on in your career, the big test of whether you understand something will be whether you can explain it to someone. So being able to work well with others, be explained a concept without constantly interjecting, or to explain a concept and let the person learn. Those are really key fundamental skills that I would encourage building as soon as possible. Yay, teamwork. What do you think?
I think those are transferable in any industry and position in a professional setting. So +1 to that.
Yeah.
By the way, Josh, last time you were in Brooklyn, me, you, Doug were hanging out. You mentioned a talk kind of around this topic about, it's called How to Complain Positively. You're doing these talks in different conferences. Is that something similar to what you just shared about how to work in a team?
Similar, yeah. Neighboring area. I think the video is free now, How to Complain. Yeah, it's on my website and you can find it online. It was a quick 10-minute talk I gave at a conference. Really good series called Staff Plus. The talk is centered around this ridiculous email I'd sent actually relatively early in my full-time job at Microsoft back in Dynamics, where I was complaining about the build system that we were using at the time called Jenkins.
Okay.
And the way I did it was the most obnoxious, team-wide email saying the thing is bad and not providing any deep thought or alternatives or acknowledgement that maybe the team knows what it's doing. So that was an embarrassing moment that I can now capitalize on for public speaking. The general idea is if you don't like something, it's fine to complain to people who are close and trusted with you, people who know you're just venting, not trying to make progress. But if you do want to actually affect change, you should research why things were the way they are, whose importance relative to the thing. Be a little more political than just shouting out complaints into the mass.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. No, it's similar areas. I think people get into coding thinking sometimes that it's just about the development, just about the coding. Whereas in actuality, a majority of the job is the people stuff. It's the reviewing other people's code, the teaching, the discussing architectures, you're in a team meeting and someone doesn't like the process and now we have to discuss the process for an hour because it's important type stuff. That's really a large percentage of what being a software developer is.
100%. Do you have any books that you'll recommend for engineers who are trying to improve on this area?
Yeah. I have a whole series I recommend. And 2 of them have been misinterpreted by the internet. So that's great. The first one is How to Win Friends and Influence People, updated for the next generation of leaders. The book's almost 100 years old. So its coaching around its advice isn't always modern and stellar, but the general advice it gives is really good. Be an authentic, genuine person. Be interested in others. Listen to people. Don't just tell them what you want. Learn what they want before you ask them of anything. It's really solid advice that I think has stood the test of time. The second one I recommend is Radical Candor by Kim Scott. Great book. The internet thinks it means just being a direct jerk and just telling people everything immediately, crassly, whereas it actually recommends figuring out how to give people the feedback, both good and critical, that works well for them and can help them grow at a time that's reasonable, not 2 years later. And then the third one is Nonviolent Communication, which goes into how to discuss things with people who have opposing viewpoints, written by someone, Marshall Rosenberg, who did a lot of, this is unfortunately relevant, particularly now, Middle East conflict resolution, which is a space where there are an incredibly nuanced depth amounts to each viewpoint, and you can't possibly come in with your own opinions without learning for months and months on end. And that's all very applicable to being a software developer somehow. So highly recommend.
We should bring this back. We used to do book clubs. By the way, I think Radical Candor was the book on the growth team, right? When you were on the growth team back when we were working together. But at CodyDex, we've been trying to think about bringing back some sort of book club, maybe even internally or with the community. So I might look into one of these 3 books.
Yeah. How to Win Friends, Radical Candor, Nonviolent Communication. Yeah.
I still haven't read How to Win Friends just because the name is still such a turnoff. But I need to get over that part because what you just explained was actually pretty solid. Like all the I didn't know all these insights.
What really irritates me about the name is that on its own, it's totally fine. The book is about making friends. Winning is like an unfortunate turn of phrase, but it's 100 years old now. And influencing people. You're trying to influence people. But because of what gets associated with the book, which is like sleazy salespeople from the 1930s and 40s, now both of those phrases have kind of a negative connotation. But you know what? It's either it or a more modern, better coached version of it. One that when it tells people to always smile, recognizes like what segments of the population probably have received that advice way too much and don't need it. Whatever equivalent works for you, it's good advice.
I did buy it for this pod. I'll get to it. Also, your book that we'll get into in a bit, we can talk about. But by the way, we actually didn't ask this in the beginning, but what are you doing nowadays, Josh?
Oh, yeah. What am I doing? I am what's called an open source developer or open source maintainer, which means instead of, and by the way, I'm an independent one. I'm independent in that although there are some open source maintainers who are on company payroll, like the TypeScript team all works for Microsoft, for example. I don't work for any particular company. I'm community funded, which means I beg for money on the internet a lot. I wrote a book, Learning TypeScript, which provides passive revenue. And then also people and or companies sponsor me on GitHub and Open Collective, both of which have platforms to let people sponsor open source projects. And that means instead of working for any one company or even a group of companies, I work directly on the software that everyone uses, software that lets you write code a little more quickly or with fewer bugs. The main project I work on is TypeScript-eslint, which is the tooling that lets standard JavaScript tools like Prettier and ESLint run on TypeScript code. So I like to say that although I'm not running in your product, I'm definitely running on your dev machine if you write TypeScript, which you all should be doing.
For the listeners, what is ESLint?
Oh, sure. Sorry. In most languages, there are 3 tools that are categorized as static analysis, tools that run in your code without actually running your code. They just look at your source files. There's the linter, the formatter, and the type checker. The formatter, for example, Prettier, just reformats your code. It doesn't fix bugs or complain about logical issues. The linter, for example, ESLint, short for ECMAScript-lint. ECMAScript is the technical name of JavaScript because a company that happens to own the trademark is real rude about it. ESLint lets you know if you have like little probably bugs or like little stylistic inconsistencies. And then the type checker would be a tool like TypeScript. So ESLint and Prettier both understand JavaScript, but in order to understand the added syntax in languages like TypeScript, they need a tool. And that tool is what I help maintain.
Are you the sole person on the TypeScript ESLint?
Oh, you had it. No, I'm not. Nor am I the creator. Back in the day, there was a different linter for TypeScript code called TESLint. I didn't create that either, but I was one of the maintainers for it later on in life. I also helped kill it because we moved over to TypeScript-eslint, which I, again, did not create, but I'm now one of the maintainers of. And like one of the more publicly visible out there faces shouting about it.
And do you have any big name sponsors or is it just like, random places here and there?
If you go to my GitHub, you can see my personal ones, github.com/Joshua-K-Goldberg. I don't have any like multi-hundred a month companies. Right. I'll say that the company Loops is really nice. Beyond Lou from SourceGraph. Yeah. That's where that came from. But I also have like some smaller sponsor tiers. TypeScript-eslint, we have on our Open Collective an open list of sponsors. The biggest ones are Indeed, NX by Narwhal, ESLint itself, Hugging Face, Airbnb.
Oh, nice. By the way, is it decent money, Josh?
No, it's not decent money.
Okay, it's not decent money. It's not decent money. Is it? Can you live on it?
It is neither easy, decent, nor good. When I was a SAF software developer at Codecademy, I earned base was I think $207K plus benefits, stock and stuff.
$207K or $270K?
207. The smaller of the two options.
Okay, I was about to say.
I know. Chump change, right? Software developers are overpaid. That's part of why I like working in tech ed, because I think we need more and a more diverse group. But that's a whole other conversation. Now that I'm open source maintainer, between my book, which is, again, just passive income from something I did a while ago, and my open source sponsorships and stuff, I earn, drumroll please, New York City minimum wage. It's tens of thousands a year. And if I didn't count my book, it would be, I think, below minimum wage. So it's not good money. It takes a while to get money, like continuous amounts of money as an open source developer, which is a real problem in the industry. Like there's no incentive for companies to give us money. Why would they? This thing exists whether they pay us or not.
Right.
So although some companies and people are nice and do the right thing and pay, especially when there was an economic downturn, it just kind of doesn't for the most part.
So now I have to ask, what made you make the switch from, making such a lucrative salary to open source full time?
It's what I really love. I think I am making an impact in a positive way on the industry. Like I'm making the linting TypeScript experience better. It's also really fun. I really like working on these things. When I was at Microsoft or Codecademy, I was constantly finding myself moving back towards the platform that people were working on. Instead of working on the product itself, I wanted to work on the frameworks we were using to build the products or the tooling that we were using to build the frameworks, ... So now I can see like the industry as a whole, the software everyone uses, really, really think on it and identify what are the issues that I'm well suited to tackle. How can I make this better for everyone? Which is a lot of fun. And I have a lot of freedom. Like if I just want to go off to a conference, which I've been doing a lot of, I can just go to the conference. Like I don't need to arrange that work. The downside is I don't have things that are restricting me. I don't have a manager, mentor, mentees, peers. Like I can find those people online, but it's not the same as having an actual company around me. So I do miss that. And I might eventually go back to having a full-time job, both for the people around me, the sustained product, and the money. But for now, I'm pretty happy.
Cool. No, I love that. It's almost like just like listening to all the different milestones that you had in your career, like whether it's full screen Mario in college, that you're moving from the growth team or the business team to Sway, the office team. Same thing as your experience at Codecademy from the growth team that I know you've done to the platform team, and also here. It's almost like you're tackling this in a very pure and like passion, like more. And I do wish more people. It's like what a lot of people, like a lot of the OGs, I would say. And now we call it like now it's OGs, but like right, like the pure essence, like why you got into it. I wish more people talk about that now more. What's up? The Method Man?
Oh, sorry. My mind went a completely different direction when you said OGs. You're talking about like Codecademy OGs?
No. Just like, I mean, we're not that old, but it's just like we've been in the industry for a little bit now. When I hear a lot of Gen Zs who are trying to, by the way, a lot of our users are Gen Zs who are trying to get into tech. It's like FAANG companies is all they talk about, or like, try to make six figures, like all they talk about. And I wish there's a little bit more of like doing it just for the love of it,
Yeah. I will say I'm real privileged, cis hetero white male growing up with an affluent family. Oh, I guess I'll go to the university, like, a top ranked university that's 10 minutes away from home. Oh, I guess I'll work at Microsoft. Like I recognize that what I've been able to do is in large part, not just because of my hard work and tenacity, but because I was given a lot of opportunities. And for a lot of people who do or don't have those same privileges or opportunities that I was afforded, I think it's totally reasonable to just be in there for the money. 9 to 5, earn $6K, go home, do your own thing. Like that's totally fine. But when we remove privilege from the equation a little bit, when we just take a look at what benefits the world, yeah, it's awesome to be able to do things like take a pay cut to go work at a tech ed company, or even like what you two have done, what you, Sunny, have been telling me you wanted to do for years, start or work at a very new tech ed company. I also do a lot of volunteering, like with boot camps, like DEI-oriented ones. And again, there's no shame if you just don't have the time and or energy to do that after your tech job. But I think there are things one can do if they have the ability that make the world a better place. I also really resent that the phrase make the world a better place, it was like so overused that the show Silicon Valley turned it into a parody.
A meme.
But that is legitimately like what I want to do.
Totally.
So that's the core drive.
Yeah, there got to be a new phrase for that because you're right. Like for the first like 10 years, or like the early 2010s, it's like that's all it was. But now it's like kind of like tech has definitely got a bad rap for it. But I love if there's like a new manifesto or a new type of mentality around like the positivity, but like reward it a little bit, right?
I do love the phrase tikkun olam, actually. It means repair the world or repairing the world. It's Hebrew, so it's nice and not controversial these days. But the general idea of like tikkun olam or the Boy Scout principle, leave things cleaner than you found them, I think was great. But honestly, there's really very little separating me from a college kid. Like, we're talking now and we've covered all these different things that have happened in my career. But that's just stuff that happened. Like, if we go back, whatever, a few years, I still remember like sitting in data structures, literally sweating about how I suck. This is not for me. I'm not going to do well. Or like, nervous at my first career fair. Literally not a single company gave me a call back or an email.
Same. Career fair. I remember that too.
It's weird to think that we're successful, right? Because I remember being so incredibly unsuccessful and thinking, well, that's just me.
Wait, can I butt in here? Both of you are very successful. Okay, listeners, I've worked with both Josh and Sunny now for many years.
Session?
Both of them love what they do. They used to do like collaborations at our former company. And it would be like talk of the town, meaning company, all hands. But you guys love what you do, one. Two, you are very open and kind of loud about what you do. So you get other people's buy-in and you influence others to like see what you're doing and get on the bandwagon, if, for lack of a better phrase, to like get more hype about what you do. So I think that kind of adds to both of your success.
Yeah.
Is that you're both always have followed like passion more or less and have a good heart in doing it.
Oh, thanks, Lil. I appreciate it. I think one can be bashful about themselves because like it feels weird and awkward to me when someone comes up to me at a conference and is like, "Oh, I'm a big fan. You've done so much work," and I'm like, "Who am I? I'm not Brad Pitt." The response is not correlated to reality. But yeah, like we've done things. And like one of the reasons why I'm on here and enjoy working with you is that like you two both have a lot of passion. And like Sunny, I remember the first thing we worked on together, I'm pretty sure, was the frickin' LOL code course for
Of course.
That was great.
Wait, was it the shop?
Oh yeah, did shop predate LOL code?
Yeah, I think the shop might have
I think
predated
so.
it. They just shut the shop down. But we do have a shop at Codedex now.
You're darn tootin' you do.
Yeah.
And then we made a shop and we learned about online scammers stealing credit cards in order to buy like 5 t-shirts. So great. Yeah. But yeah, to your point, Lil, I think being someone who can be that kind of bright spot of enthusiasm and corral people towards what they want is a really good skill. It's really important if you want to get things done to be able to affect change towards those goals. And like, especially in college, university, I think a lot of people are surprised at how much success they have doing student organizations. Like a lot of student clubs, student union thingies are like pretty understaffed. So if you want to get involved with a club, with an organization, oftentimes it's as, quote unquote straightforward as finding the time for it, going there and volunteering once a week. For example, I became the president of the Computer Science Honor Society at RPI, which sounds real fancy. I was the only person who raised their hand. Yeah, no, it's a whole thing. I was the only person who wanted it. At the time, the club was falling apart. No one wanted to be president. I was like, oh, I guess I'll do it. And now I get that line in the resume and learned about leadership and like set stuff up. It's great.
Nice. I didn't know that. Cool.
All of the computer science students that we featured on this podcast earlier this fall also are part of student organizations in some capacity, like the leadership. So it is definitely something, and all of them have been like NASA interns and Codedex interns and LinkedIn interns. So it definitely is a surefire way to get ahead when you don't have that real life work experience, right?
Yeah.
Or soft skills experience.
Yeah. I mean, how do you get the experience other than doing things?
Totally.
So Josh, I think you talked about tech conferences. And we've been following your Twitter. You've been all over the world. How many conferences have you even been to by now? And why have you been going to conferences? Like, what was it to promote your book? Is it to get your name out the door? What's up with tech conferences?
It's a great question. So on my website, joshgoldberg.com/speaking, there's a page that has all the conferences I went to. There are 54 entries in there. There are, I think, maybe a half dozen are remote. Maybe another dozen are duplicate entries. So I've been to like 30 or 40 in-person conferences in total.
Right.
That's
which I realize is
amazing.
kind of a lot.
That's a lot. And it looks like I'm like looking at your website throughout this entire episode to like see what you're talking about. But it looks like a lot of them Oh, okay. Go back to 2019, but a bulk of them were in 2021, 2, and 3.
Yeah. My first international conference, sorry to interject, I was so annoyed still about this, was going to be in Japan. Love Japan. It was going to be a TypeScript conference. Love TypeScript in March of 2020. And that's like right when I was starting to become like an international, like flying around speaker. So yeah, everything has been 2021 and onward for the most part.
Public speaking is such a hairy topic for so many people. What is the number one thing you've learned from your experience giving all of these talks?
For me, confidence is more about silencing my self-doubt than it is about faking. I think a lot of people feel a lot of self-doubt. Who am I to give a talk to 4 people or 40 or 400? Why are they listening to me? I don't know anything. And then that uninformed self-doubt, and I say uninformed because if you look at who speaks, it's not just the people who, make React, work at Meta on the team. Like, it's just everyone who happens to have used React will give a talk on it. When you remove that self-doubt, a lot of the blockers to public speaking kind of fall away. It's not something for everyone. Like, if you just don't like speaking in front of other people who are staring at you, that's totally reasonable. But it's super useful. Even just attending a conference, you get to listen to, watch a lot of great talks. You get to network with people. You get to learn what other folks are doing. Speaking at a conference gives you even more access to the other speakers and the community. It's also a great resume booster. So I highly recommend public speaking. Don't start with conferences. Start with like smaller meetups or student groups or whatever. Yeah. You can start with a conference. I've met a couple of people who their first public speaking was at a conference, but like that's playing on hard. Ramp into things.
What has been your most memorable conference? Number 1, number 2, conference that you recommend web developers?
The problem with this question, I realized it like just before we started talking here, is that if I give a recommendation or even a small number recommendation, that's implicitly kind of like putting down all the others. So I'm going to give you my personal like favorites from my like top of mind, and then I can also give strategies for like what is a good conference, because everyone's different conferences appeal to different people. The first conference I ever spoke at was back in 2019. It's the only one from that year. TSConf, TypeScript conference. It was that conference did more to shatter my self-doubt and imposter syndrome than anything else from that era. Like first it was Full Screen Mario, then getting the internship, then the job, and then TSConf. Like those are the levels of like things that really helped me. I gave a talk like on TypeScript at the TypeScript conference, like the ego boost, man. Oof. It was also a ridiculous talk. It was talking about implementing binary arithmetic in the TypeScript type system. If you don't know what that means and it just sounds like gibberish, that's roughly accurate. It's the stupidest application of TypeScript's types. And it's like a mini meme in the TypeScript community now, people doing stuff like that. So that was just great. It was like my first conference that I was speaking at. I think my first conference ever. Just a really good time. I met like a lot of people in the TypeScript team then who were like, cool talk. I was like, peeing myself with glee. Almost literally. Anyway, recently I went to a really nice one in Timișoara, Romania. Actually, that was really nice, called Vivo.js. I'm giving them a shout out because this was like their second time holding a conference. The first time was just the year before COVID, I think. But they did an amazing job. Like they were super well prepared. The conference ran well. They put a lot of effort into the lineups. We went on Saturday we went to this Romanian village and like ate foods like culturally relevant, like prepared by people's parents' foods, and like one of this like little horse and carriage ride through the town. Like the most personable situation ever. I was sitting on a hill sipping Palinka with like Matt Pocock and like Attila Facine, like other people in the community. Names that like ring a bell. I was thinking like, what could be more luxurious than this? Anyway, that's just my little plug for giving a talk. What I recommend for people is if you want to go to your first tech conference, think of what you want to get out of it and then try to find one that matches that. For the most part, it's some combination of networking, learning, and having a good time. Having a good time is a valuable, reason. But for the networking, I recommend conferences that set stuff up for you, have like mini booths, or like a lot of them will have an ambassador program. Like Ruby, I think Conf is good for that. I also recommend look at the lineup, see if any of the speakers are people you'd want to hear from, or if any of the talks or subjects you want to hear about. And I personally recommend smaller conferences for your first one, it's all fine and good. You can get lost in a bigger conference intentionally. That's nice. But if it's a small single track 1 or 2 day conference, you get to know people a little more. There are fewer competing voices in the room trying to crowd the popular speakers. So either way, it's great, but I really like single track.
We've been brain jamming on like a potential mini conference for Cody Decks, maybe in 2024. But I need to go to a few tech conferences to even understand, like, you know, what we need, like how to even be there, because like we talk about how hiring a band, we talk about doing like some yoga, we talk about like, you know, different,
oh boy,
just like make it a little bit more fun.
Basically nothing to do with coding.
Well, I mean, we're all humans, right? Like you got to draw people into the conference somehow. React Miami is a great example of a conference I highly recommend for people as a first one. A, Miami. B, the organizers are super nice. Shout out Yas and Michelle and Rebecca and so on. Also, they had like a little mini activities. Like I went on a run with a few people and they had yoga and stuff like that. So like being able to, we were talking at the very beginning an hour ago about like one-on-oneing with people, like asking perfect standard, like that type of stuff is actually professionally valuable. You know, learning about other people, seeing their viewpoints and like understanding how they think. And conferences are a good way to do that. It's called the hallway track, totally separately from the talks, like out in the hallway or at an activity or whatever. That's really valuable. That's honestly half the time when I go to a conference, I'm not even attending the talks that I've already seen before, because A, I've already seen them, and B, to me, the hallway track is more valuable if I've already seen it.
Well, if we pull this off, we'll definitely invite you as one of the speakers, Josh. We'll love to have you.
Thanks. I have a very comprehensive speaker package, so good luck with that.
Ooh, okay.
That's a joke. I'd love to come. Please invite me.
Cool. Should we wrap this up? How do people find you? And do you also want to give a plug for your book?
Yeah. Yes to all of the above. I am Joshua K. Goldberg on basically everything. Twitter/X. My Mastodon server is Fastodon. I stream a couple times a week on Twitch. We upload it to YouTube. I'm also on Blue Sky. And then JoshuaKGoldberg.com. Josh Goldberg was taken. There's like a spiritual singer, the domestic terrorist from Florida. So I just put Joshua K. Goldberg, though I never go by Joshua.
Oh, that's what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell who doesn't know me on like LinkedIn or whatever because they call me Joshua. And I'm like, who the hell are you talking to?
Well,
but no, my book is learning. Don't forget the book plug, Sonny.
Of course.
My book is Learning TypeScript. Thanks. Enhance your web development skills using TypeScript, JavaScript. It's pretty good, I think. And if you want to learn TypeScript and you have no experience with anything other than JavaScript, that's the book for you.
You can find it on Amazon and also O'Reilly.com.
Oh, yeah, that too. It's got a website, learningtypescript.com, with a bunch of like free articles and projects to practice that has a list of all the places to buy it.
By the way, one more thing, Josh. I saw you had a chooseyourframework.dev website.
Oh, yeah.
That is so cool. I'll love to have something like that, even like merge it into Cody Decks somehow, because that's freaking awesome.
Thanks. So sorry to take up time at the end for this, but Full Screen Mario, I eventually split out the game engine into its own separate project, which is open source and in TypeScript, called 8bitter. It came from a time when it sounded like every startup had the same name formula, like 2 words. The second one is a verb. You drop the E at the end. It's like audio player or whatever. So all the modules in that component framework are some stupid name like that. And then that game engine actually is what I used for chooseyourframework.dev. So it's a real legitimate game engine. It's not good, but it is working. And in my spare time, once in a while, once every year or two, I find time to work on full screen Pokemon, which is what it sounds like.
Also, so ridiculous, Josh, given that you got the DMCA from Nintendo.
Yeah, I kind of want them to take it down because honestly, it's a waste of time to work on. I get nothing out of it. It's just this immature little pleasure at re-implementing. And it's never going to be finished. But if anyone wants to work on that, so good luck.
Cool. And I think that's a wrap for the pod.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, no,
thank you, Josh.
This was fun.